Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this episode of Strengther, which is a special initiative by CXO Digital Pulse. In this series, we shine a light on the compelling tales of resilience, courage, and innovation told by women who had made a lasting mark on their industries. Today, our guest, who boasts an impressive career there in Sri Lanka, is associated with USAID Clean City and Blue Ocean Program and is the country director for Sri Lanka and Maldives region. Please welcome Nilanka.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much.
So Nilanka, for our viewers, we would like to understand more about you as a person before we move ahead to understand your opinion about various women initiatives. So we'll start with the rapid fire round.
Yep.
Okay. So Nilanka, as a professional trait you wish to learn, what it would be?
I would take the international relations because it would help me to understand the complexities of the global landscape, which is very required for the development sector that I'm working in. So that is something that I would like to, pursue.
Great. And is there any favorite word of yours in another language other than your mother tongue?
Pyar.
Okay.
Because I believe that love would conquer anything, whether it's the love for your spouse, your children, your friends, your family, your country, your community, your work, whatever. So I believe that is one of my favorite words.
Okay, great. And you as a person, how do you associate yourself, as a street smart or a book smart?
Street smart.
Okay. One missed opportunity that you wish you could have a second chance at?
When I look back at my life, there are certain opportunities that I would wish that I would taken and would love to see where I would be today, where I would be today if I take those things. But going back to like the question, what I would like to change, I would say I would change none, because I believe who I am today, what I have become today is because of those situations and those some of the lessons that I have learned. So none.
Okay, great. A woman who inspired you?
There are several women in my life who inspired me, starting from my Sunday school teacher, Priyangi Mendes, my friend Chandani Klanagam, then my mother, my grandmother. But as I was growing as a teenager, one personality, one character actually inspired me a lot. And she is one of former Mrs. Sri Lanka, Mrs. World, 1984 in the country, Mrs. Rosie Senanayake. And also her,
Great. Those were some incredible answers, I would say, with such promptness. So Nilanka, now we'll move to our main section where we delve more about how you look towards the aspects which are going around the women progress. And as we are celebrating this International Women's week or say month, where we are celebrating various women, their journey, and talking about them, and we are talking a lot about equality, and we believe it should be actually based on equity also, rather than just talking about equality. So how has the principle of meritocracy facilitated equal opportunities in your journey? If you could cite some examples or give us some glimpse from your experience.
Well, in my life, the turning point in my career came as when I was working in this particular organization. I was working as a manager and in a sponsorship department, which is a subsection of the main program area. And there was a time that where the organization was going through a major restructuring process, and the head of the program, all these top levels, the senior management positions were open. And at that time, my supervisor, my boss, who's Mr. Rajkumar Selvindas, he prompted me actually and said, you should apply for the program director position, which was something I was not ready at that time to say. I was quite surprised why he asked that, and he said, "Believe me, one day you would end up as a country director." So, with a lot of hesitation, with a lot of not uncertainty, I did apply for that position. And once the results came, the panel informed me that they did not particularly selected the best candidate, but I was the second best preference. Therefore, as a woman, as I was the youngest, and I was the only lady who applied, and also probably not from the mainstream. So they have decided to offer me the associated director position, and that I would say was a very turning point in my life, because that helped me to boom up in my career. And also eventually when I walked into the program section, it was like 50 men in the program management itself, and I was the only woman. But eventually I was able to become the program director and to give a leadership to a massive development program, which was around $24 million US dollars annual budget. And also eventually then it was my turn to understand why women are not coming into the program section. And it was one of the obstacles we identified was because this is a position, if you're becoming a program manager, you have to be able to be mobile, in the sense you have to move away from your family, which is not something that women would be very happy to do. So along with that, with few discussions with the management, we were able to do certain changes in the way that the women leaders would be placed. We got certain flexibilities, and then we were able to appoint the first two female managers in the program division. And today, I think there are about more than 5 or 6 women managers in the program. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that where it's not just the equal opportunity, because equal opportunity was given to everyone. But when you talk about the equity, what is really required for them to come to this, why they're not coming, and to filling that gap and fixing that was one of the things that we were able to do.
Okay. And I would say this was a remarkable step from your side, because as it says that, it just takes a step to actually create a difference out there in the world. And having approached by a mentor, as you mentioned, of yours, and it was you who then understood that what was the reasoning, it was a remarkable thing. And Nilanka, with that aspect, I would also say that as women are progressing, and with the help of such kind of initiatives where the board understands them, but still they need to maintain a balance in their professional and personal space. So what role, as per you, should women envision for themselves when they're balancing their professional passion and the family responsibilities?
To answer that question, I would just take my learning from my thesis that I did for my master's. The thesis that I did for my master's was focusing on why there are very few female leaders at the top management in organizations. And the study reveals certain, they gave me some aha moments, right? Probably some of these things that everybody knows. But one thing that we found was through the research is that in Sri Lanka, in our context, if we take the tertiary education, after the secondary education, the female population is now increasing. Therefore, there is no obstacle or challenge for the females to get in the education system. But after getting the education, once they start joining the work from the age of 24 to around age of 33 to 35, there is a steep decline in the number of women in the workforce. That's because that's a time that they get married, that's a time that they have children, and then they want to, give their full time to the family, and then they stay back at home. But what happens is, at this particular time, the men still progress in their career. So when the women come back after that 35 years, they find the men of their same age mostly had bypassed them and gone. So that was one of the challenges that I saw, that why women take a long time, or there are few women that who would be really pursuing in their careers. And also number two is the perception that these women and the men have, right? In the perception, when you say uh, there are women who think that the men would not like to really work under them, but whereas the men's side, that they have no issue. So with these perceptions, sometimes the women create their own boundaries, limitations, that they had the fear, the confidence, lack of confidence. All these things play a role there. And at the same time, the system itself, if the men, after work, they have their boys network, where they have a lot of connections, network, and then they find the opportunities. But as for women, as soon as the job is over, they run to home for their families, because they have another responsibility to do. So these are some of the things that I found through my research, why there is slow progress for the women to come to the top management. But at the same time, when you talk about the balancing side, I would say the women, the times that they are away from work is a time that they can still take to skill them up, to get the necessary skills, to equip them, because they know if they are coming back. Because independence, I would say, financial independence is something very much important for any man, or for any woman. Sometimes, like, you're not taking chances because you're so much dependent, either financially or anything, dependent on men. So you need to break some of those barriers. So being independent is very important. And at the same time, like, what would you require to do to come back and then to take up your position is something that you need to be doing. So I would say mother's role, wife's role, the family role, these are very, very, very important things. These are really, really important roles that you are playing. And it's not we are talking about compromising, but it's about, during the time as a mother or a wife, still taking time to equip yourself is very important. You never know what your future is going to be like.
So, Nilanka, while women have various categories or sections of responsibility when they are moving ahead in the career at a professional and even at the personal level, they have to, apart from ensuring the balance, they have to integrate multiple things. And there are certain perspectives with which they approach their journey. There are certain apprehensions. Now, as you mentioned that when you entered the boardroom, there were around 50 men in that program and you were the only female. So what were your top apprehensions when you were competing for that seat?
Number one is the fear. The fear of whether I would be accepted, I would be rejected. Whether the fear of whether men would cooperate or whether they would not cooperate. Then came the lack of confidence. Am I adequate? Am I adequate enough? Do I have the right qualification? Do I have the right experience? Do I have the right this and that? Those were some of the struggles I would say I was having. At the same time, taking over a huge responsibility means, what does it means to my family? How would it interpret in my family? Do I have to give up certain roles that I do as a mother? as a wife, right? Where do I strike the balance? Would it take me away from my family? So those were some of the things that I would say I was grappling.
Okay. And you have also seen the new generation females entering in the workforce today. What kind of observation you have in terms of the confidence that they enter the room with, or their set of apprehensions?
I would say today's generation is much more different than my generation. Today's, like, if you look into the females, I think that's one of the reasons why this at the tertiary education you see more females in the continuing that than males. So today's women have a lot of confidence, they have a lot of opportunities, they have a lot of exposure. With all these things, women are ready. uh, when you were asking this question, I was reminded of one event. It was a C-suite women's event organized by Satina magazine, and I was one of the panelists talking to women about the career and then the aspiration and also climbing up the ladder. So this was one of the questions actually asked by some of the ladies who attended there. The question was that how fast can we climb the ladder? So my answer to them was, it's not how fast you move. Uh, it is important that you have the goal. It's important that you have a vision. It's important that you have your dreams and you work towards that. It is very, very important. But rather than thinking about a final destination, think about the journey that you are walking in. Because when we are so passionate about the end result, but not the journey, there are so many things that we miss in life. There are so many people we missed in life. There are so many opportunities that we are blind. There are so many people's lives that we need to touch, communities that we need to work for. So it is important that you are you have that end vision, but also think about the journey that you are walking in. My advice to them was, be passionately involved with what you do. You know, sometimes when we are in a race, more than the quality, we think about the final goal post, but rather think about be engaged, be passionate about what you do, get the right skills, and then pay your attention to the journey. I think those are some of the things that were very important in career, and that's my advice to the younger generation.
Okay. So, Nilanka, while as you suggested, it's the journey which they need to focus on the destination, but what should be their approach or their strategies when they are getting into that journey? Because they need to identify, strategize, and then move. So, what would be your approach or your advice for the approach that they should get into?
So, as I mentioned, know what you do. Have a vision, have a dream where you want to end up in life. But at the same time, to understand what would be the path that you would require to go into that final destination. What would be some of the milestones that you need to be passing by? How would you prepare yourself? You asked one of the very important question about being street smart and book smart, right? So when you are street smart, it talks about your ability to understand, read, and to have your response towards it. So I think this wisdom is very, very important when you're finally going towards your final goal. It's not just a race that you're working on, the skills set, how passionate you are with what you do. If you're not passionate in what you do currently, I would say leave that job and find your passion. Follow your passion, follow your dreams. Because when we are in that flow experience, when we are in that dream journey, we flourish. Otherwise, we have a lot of complaints and we would not enjoy the journey. So enjoy your journey, get what you require, and then go towards it.
Okay. Great, Nilanka. And with this, we come to the end of this conversation. It was refreshing and inspiring to hear your journey and the kind of advice that you have shared with us. And I believe the thesis that you conducted that helped us through you, that the kind of apprehensions that we start our journey with, or we are going ahead with the journey, and the key takeaway is that those are our set of apprehensions and they need to resolve at our end rather than believing an external force to help. Although in terms of external support, it's a women who help another women. Like you created a space for others once you got a seat there on the table. So the journey is definitely inspiring, and thank you for sharing all these personal anecdotes with us today.
Thank you very much.